The problem that you have with information diets is that a lot of the time it's KFC masquerading as an apple. You can't tell healthy information from unhealthy information. Well, I don't know. I mean, the way that orification and food diets have now been designed is almost as obfuscated as you could say the internet is, but maybe it's a little bit more messy. Like there's no ingredients, right, on the back of an article that you've read or something in the same way that a little bit of understanding of what goes into food could tell you about that. So how do people become more discerning there?
It's a great question. So I'd say three things about that. First is, there's a one-liner, which is the most nutritious food is the stuff that doesn't have nutrition facts on it, right? Because it's the lettuce, it's the tomatoes, it's the stuff like that, right? It has to be a little bit of a chemistry experiment to have the nutrition facts on it. Someone's putting it into a par-bomb calorimeter and getting those numbers out of it, right? So that's just kind of an amusing observation, right? The second thing is that I think there's two ways of dealing with that information content thing. The first is maybe someone can develop a Chrome plugin, which basically pre-reads the stuff for you and will flag it. For example, all the words on the page that are meant to enrage you can actually be flagged. Okay. And that's called, for example, there's this concept called Russell conjugation. And it's like, it's actually by Bertrand Russell. And the idea is, I sweat, you perspire, but she glows. Okay. The same concept can be communicated with a totally different tone on it, depending on whether you want to, give a positive spin on it or a negative spin, right? Like, you are righteously angry. He is spluttering with rage, right? And, so the same concept can be Russell conjugated in different ways. And with machine learning, you can detect that. So one thing you could imagine is a Chrome plugin that would just sort of be like a buddy alongside that would sort of because the thing is, you might think you're a super rational person, but when that hits your eye, you're going to see it. Whereas if it's highlighted in red, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I didn't even realize
I need to down-regulate my response against this particular term a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you open up a page which is covered in red, you think, I probably need to take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt.
Exactly. And in fact, that's what they've added to it also in a different sense is they've added a pinch of salt, a pinch of sugar to the page. Straight news is boring. So instead they sugar it up. They salt it up with all of these things,
So you're saying that the limbic hijack of semantic overload online is basically the same as sugar. Carefully designed
yes,
sugars
it's
and fats.
It's exact. Think about a failing restaurant, right? A failing restaurant will start throwing all kinds of sugar and other stuff into its food. Why? Because it does, like, people like it. It's a short-term optimization, And, people saw fruit yogurt. Wow, that's selling, right? It's like, Coca-Cola where they put cocaine in the cola. And like now today we're like, wow, that's so bad. Like at some point in the future, when everybody has continuous glucose monitors and you can actually see your blood sugar jangle and so on, we will see this time period when people had sugar for breakfast, sugar for dessert, when kids were eating sugar, when sugar was in everything, as similar to like that time when drugs were laced in everything. Okay,
I can't believe they used to put that in their bodies.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's why people were so fat, and that's why diabetes was such an epidemic, and why people are up 30 pounds. Like, it's actually like this. It's very difficult to escape. It's like secondhand smoke. Sugar is basically in almost everything, right? You have to really try to not eat that, and it probably starts messing up your gut microbiome and other kinds of things. This is why, have you seen the GIF on the obesity epidemic? Have you ever seen the GIF?
I'm not sure. You should be able to screen share and we can...
Yeah, I'll just paste this in. Just for your, this is actually 10 years ago and people have gotten even fatter since then, okay? But take a look at this. If you put that on your thing.
Dean, make this pop up when you do the edit, please. Thank you. So this is...
this is just the US, but it's global. You can see that. You see the thing about.
So for the people that are just listening, it's a map of all of the states in the US, and it's beginning in about 1985, beginning with no data, and then it gradually gets darker and darker, all of the colors over time. And it is, what's that at the bottom? Is that BMI?
So obesity, yeah, it's basically like exactly. It's like a percent of people who are above an obese BMI, right?
Okay, yeah, and it just over time you're getting to what's that at the top? Is that over 30% in some places now?
Yeah,
predominantly. Well, everywhere.
But this is 10 years ago. It's just gotten worse since then, right? And the thing is, and this is important, even though it's BMI is a function of height and weight, which are both so-called ratio scale variables, and those are good variables. The reason is 6 feet is 6 feet in 1980 and in 2022, right? 150 pounds is 150 pounds in 1980 and in 2022. So ratio scale variables are the highest quality of data because they can be compared across time and space. By contrast, dollars are not, because that you have to inflation adjust them and so on and so forth, right? And other kinds of metrics like SAT scores and stuff are not, because scales change and so they're less comparable across time and space. So ratio scale variables like this, or functions of ratio scale variables, are something where we can really truly say people have gotten fatter over time, significantly fatter. And is it partly due to like a microbiome? Maybe.